Hello and welcome back to my channel. Since the release of Season 6 and the shock revelation that my childhood heroine Lara Croft had just been added into Fortnite, I got to work creating my very own creative map themed entirely around Tomb Raider. Starting off my game, I chose to open the level with an iconic snatch and slide style trap, resembling the typical slope trap from any memorable Tomb Raider game. I thought this was a neat way to instantly flag to the player that this is a proper Tomb Raider inspired level, and I will be aiming to provide as many iconic moments and scenes from throughout the classic Tomb Raider franchise as possible. The Scion Temple is the first main room that you encounter in my map. Named after the key artifact in the original Tomb Raider 1, this level draws inspiration from the concept of St. Francis Folly, where the room branched into separate elemental chambers, each providing a key to help progress through the game. The same principle applies to the Scion Temple, as this room splits into two chambers, water and fire, and provides artifacts required for the progression into the next segment. The coloured jewels scattered around the chambers also serve as a nod to St. Francis Folly, this time using the concept of 4 key items to grant access to the final gate. The water chamber is the first elemental chamber you encounter within the tomb, inspired by the style and colour palette of the Great Wall of China in Tomb Raider 2, with the exception of my map being entirely underground. This map also draws inspiration from St. Francis Folly. Progressing from the water chamber, the player finds themselves facing the Spike Pit. Inspired by any typical tricky jump quest in Tomb Raider, having to navigate narrow platforms to safely traverse a tricky environment and progress through the level, with the inclusion of a nice deep fall and spike traps. The first artifact the player encounters is the water artifact, which is protected by a simple electrical trap. The concept of using an electric trap in my map was inspired by the use of electrical traps in Kazakhstan in Tomb Raider Legend. The second chamber the player must face is the fire chamber, followed by the lava pit, very much inspired by the events of Atlantis in Tomb Raider 1, including the tedious ascent to the top of a lava-filled structure, facing off with a big baddie atop the highest platform and fighting your way to the fiery end. Upon returning the 2 chamber artifacts to the Scion Temple, the player is granted access into the Burrows. Designed to be a sort of connecting bridge from the temple to the graveyard, this area wasn't particularly inspired by anything other than being a tangled link between areas, but does draw inspiration from the winding structures of Angkor Wat in Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. After finding and returning the 4 coloured jewels to their resting altars, the main gate to the warrior graveyard becomes available. This area was designed and inspired around the Colosseum in Tomb Raider 1, with the addition of a few personal touches from previous Tomb Raider titles. Firstly, you can encounter Amanda Evert's shoe amongst the mine rubble in the graveyard. This is a huge nod to the scene in Tomb Raider Legend when you realise Lara's friend may have actually survived the cave-in after all, introducing our new main antagonist for that title. Second, you may notice the suspicious graves of 2 men, Pierre and Larson, former employees of the Great Natla back in Tomb Raider 1, who faced off against Lara and ultimately met their end. The Fiamma Nera reference is a nod to Tomb Raider 2 cultist Fiamma Nera, who stabbed himself with the dagger of Xian and became the dragon that Lara took on in the final battle of Tomb Raider 2. The caged dinosaur remains in the graveyard are a nod to the first encounter of the dinosaurs back in the Lost Valley in Peru in Tomb Raider 1, which was a huge moment in gaming history and could not be forgotten in this nostalgic area. Lastly, and most importantly, is the map from Lara's father, which is referencing a scene in Tomb Raider Underworld where Lara encounters the defaced monument with the words, "Natla, I can see your plan and am your puppet no longer, Richard James Croft," carved in it. This scene ultimately provided Lara with the answers she sought and helped Lara to progress further. After bringing everything together at the Scion Temple, a portal is opened to a seemingly destructive Avalon, where Lara encounters her mother, inspired completely by the iconic scene from Tomb Raider Underworld where Lara finally finds her mother after all this time, just to be forced to lose her again. I used cutscenes from official Tomb Raider titles to create a character profile of how Lara's mother would speak and the terminology she'd use to create an authentic Amelia Croft for the player to feel connected to. I wanted to capture this iconic moment and adapt it to my own storyline, making this adventure feel like it had a grander design to it and provide some heart to what is essentially just grave robbing for relics. The design of Avalon is very much designed to resemble Avalon in the official Tomb Raider titles, with the creatures emerging from a pool of underworld lava, incredible heights to climb, and all focused around a giant ancient mechanism set to destroy the entire world. The final dash after sabotaging the Avalon heart is inspired by the final dash from Tomb Raider 2, after the demise of Fiamma Nera, the dragon. This 30-second moment provides a last-minute struggle to escape the tomb before being sealed inside, helping to knit together what I believe to be a truly Tomb Raider-inspired level in Fortnite. Throughout the game, there are also other little nods to other Tomb Raider titles and mechanics, such as the crafting ability inspired by more modernised Tomb Raider titles. Quotes like "I'm just not strong enough" as little nods to the Angel of Darkness, and the final portal designed to resemble the gate to Avalon in Tomb Raider Legend and Underworld. All in all, I've tried to cram as many references and iconic moments into this game as possible, to create an authentic, Tomb Raider-inspired experience in Fortnite. I'm incredibly pleased with how this level has turned out and the level of detail I managed to capture within this short game, and I look forward to seeing what my friends have to say about this level in the future. But for now, I guess that's all from me, and until next time, much love and stay gaming.